All right, we started it. Welcome to another episode of the CapmLew podcast. I'm your host, CapmLew, and we are out here in a little place I like to call Twin Cam Alley. And this is my buddy Todd Redding. Todd, say hi to everybody.
Hey guys, how are you?
There he is. So, deep breath, new setting, new things. New things always bring a certain amount of stress. Love having Todd here. We've been working on a little project together. Todd, why don't you take a minute, talk about what we've been doing? See if you can remind me.
Lou,
Frame me up here.
Well, to be candid, I've been fortunate enough to have Lou come into my life, and I've always wanted to learn how to ride a bike. When I say bike, a motorcycle, a hog, a Harley, and
I don't even own a bicycle.
no, not one of those things you pedal. No. We're talking the big boy bikes. And Lou said, you can't start with something small. We're just going to go big, right?
In my defense,
There is some defense to this.
there a little. I want to say what I wish I said, but I think I said something more along these lines. We'll pick this apart as we go. My assertion was you can start on something small.
Yeah.
But the usual experience is that you start on something small like that Sportster over there, and it isn't long until you're wanting something bigger. Todd, you're what, 6'2"?
Oh no, Lou. I wish I were 6'2".
Are you 6 feet tall though?
I'm dead on 6 feet tall.
Okay, there you go. He's 6 feet tall, big guy. He's in great shape and all that, but it's like, dude, why don't you think about starting on a big bike? You're going to wind up on a big bike. How old are you, Todd?
I'm 56.
Okay, so it's not like he's got a lot of time to waste.
Oh no. I gotta get on that thing and figure it out quick.
So I thought, and also you're capable. Tell them about how you passed your motorcycle test.
Well, I did do that. So I made sure that I was safe. I went to the Harley dealer. I did take their weekend course. So I went through that, and I did not even get a mark against me, Lou. I passed that bad boy 100% when we got down to the testing.
And that's remarkable. That course is taken on street 750s, which aren't for sale anymore. All the 750s are now in the Harley rider training fleet. And you never rode a motorcycle before.
No, first time ever on a bike
in your life. They stuck you on a street 750, and you passed the course without a single negative in your column.
Correct.
Okay, so that's remarkable.
And I was wearing your old helmet.
Yes, I had it.
So I could barely see.
When he gave
and
it,
I was sweating.
When he gave it back, I stuck it in my lawn, and I still haven't picked it up. That's how low consequence.
Oh my God, that thing was falling apart. People were just laughing.
So funny. The pads are falling out of it.
That was a good one.
So with a guy like Todd, I was like, look, skip to the end and just get a big bike, buy a used. I was like, get on a used Road King. I happen to have a used Road King right here.
Yeah. So Lou's fortunate. He let me ride his.
I said,
you see it back there, big
use
blue.
use my used Road King. That if you drop it and you put a scratch on the highway bar, or if you bang up a control handle, I can swap those out right here. That's a highway bar, well under. I mean, I can get a really nice one installed for $500 right here, $275, something like that. And I've got friends at the bike shop, and I'll never not be able to, fix it up. And we'll do everything we can not to have a crash, but the skill set was there in terms of Todd's mind is nimble, and so we started that journey. And how do we know each other?
So we are part of the same company.
Yes, we are.
So it's called Solution Roofing. So Lou is our production manager at the company. I actually am partners with Lou's son, Aaron. So Aaron and I own the company together, and we go out there, we sell the roofs, and Lou makes sure they get put on correctly.
That's it in a nutshell. And so working together and then watching Todd clear that course, by the way, was it a 2-day or 3-day?
It is,
like
well,
2.5.
It's one day of full, the videos and the book, right?
Okay.
You got to go through all that stuff.
The academic module.
Right. But what's interesting, before you take the course, you
Mhm.
have to have your learner's permit for a bike. So first I had to get that.
That's
Which,
just a written test, right?
well, that's the written test, but the DMV only gave me half the test. So they didn't tell me there were 2 downloads of the test. So I studied one download, not the other one.
Oh, so they only gave you half of the learning material.
Yes, but I still passed the test the first time. Yes.
What score did you get?
Well, it's crazy. So they don't finish it. Once you get enough answers correctly, they stop the test.
I love it.
So you don't have to go through all the questions.
Did you miss any?
Yes, I missed a couple because I had no idea what they even were.
I'm
And then I asked the lady about it. She's like, "You didn't download both?" I was like, "No, you told me this one."
So funny. And
Yeah.
that's very DMV.
Yes.
Is it
So,
DMV or BMV?
I think it's
BMV.
It's the Bureau of Motor Vehicles.
Bureau.
Yes.
Yeah. It's always been the Department of Motor Vehicles, New
For
York.
us old guys. Yes.
Yeah. And where'd you move to Ohio from?
I was in California. Last place I lived before Ohio was California.
Yeah.
So that place is.
And
Well,
where'd you grow up?
I grew up. Well, I've moved quite a bit.
Okay.
So born in Maryland,
Okay.
and then lived in Atlanta, and then lived in California.
Were either Maryland or Atlanta formative for you? Were those super
Well,
early?
Maryland, there was no way because I think we moved when I was 6 months old.
Okay,
So
good.
formative would be probably just filling diapers.
Only the substance of your DNA
Yes.
level person.
So Atlanta, stayed there till I'm gonna go with, I think I was 8.5 or 9. And I can tell you, Atlanta was somewhat formative because I had some separation issues. And the only person that would ever come babysit for me was my grandmother because she had unconditional love for me.
That's grandma's.
Yes. And there's a story that's always told about me where my parents left for whatever vacation. I chose not to go to school. I chose in the middle of winter to only drink orange juice and ride my big wheel up and down the street in a bathing suit. And that was my week of fun. And my grandmother still loved me no matter what. So
I love it.
yes, no one else would ever come hang out with me as a child but my grandmother.
Some of my best memories were watching my wife's mom play hide and seek with my firstborn son, Aaron,
That's
who
awesome.
is in our company. The love of a grandma, dude.
That is true unconditional love.
Yeah. Hardcore.
Yeah. I mean,
Hardcore.
it didn't matter what I did to that woman.
Yep.
She came back, and that I will never forget that.
And having just become a granddad 10 weeks ago.
Yes, congratulations again. That is awesome.
I think about my mother-in-law fondly and often, and it's awesome. So back to motorcycling.
Yes.
So we're doing a series. These are the CapmLew ToddCasts. These are going to get posted up, sprinkled in between. This experiment could spawn a whole new podcast. We're focusing in on the motorcycling journey, but interspersed with it will be some roofing journey as well.
Absolutely.
Because starting a roofing company is a cool adventure, and I see people involved in roofing who I am very impressed by them. You
mean everybody else but me and your son?
No, I like us.
Okay. I wasn't sure where you're going with that.
I like our chances, man. I really think we have an awesome. I think we have an awesome company. We have an awesome company because, as far as I've seen, we're the only roofing company that I've seen, and I don't have vast exposure yet.
Yep.
But I speak Spanish with the crew and communicate. My crews can call me directly. They don't have to call their boss and have their boss call my boss and my boss call me. That's the way it gets done. Or just have no one to call, and the crew has to go and get something that the project manager or the production manager could be getting for them really quickly. So we're greased, with some Spanish skills on the site. My Spanish is pretty solid and good, but like even rudimentary Spanish kind of point and shoot is not.
Your conversation.
It gets it done.
Spanish.
I'm conversational.
Your conversation.
Yeah, and I've begun to do the like the packets, like being able to yell up and yell down, and but I can't whistle.
And can't whistle.
Whistling is a big part, and I'm trying to learn how to whistle, and I just don't.
You've never learned how to whistle?
No, I haven't. And
Oh,
you know
Lou,
what?
that might be the only black mark on your file, my friend.
It's a dark star in my
Yes.
sky.
Oh my God. No whistling for Lou.
So funny. There's certain things I'm good to go. Several of them not whistling. But so I was like, hey Todd, ride the Road King. Let's go out there and get you going. And so we started in the heat of summer.
Okay, can I take a couple steps back?
Get it?
So what did I do before I ever got on that bike? I would call you up and say, Lou, I just found the most protective pants ever made. Lou, I just found the most crazy body armor ever made.
Talk about that, because there was a whole process, and it was about a month long of Todd just researching and researching and researching on protective equipment. It was super cool, and it also gave me confidence that I could work with you because you were safety minded. I dug that. I'm not.
So, yeah, I don't get on that bike unless I have armor pants.
Mhm.
I have armor chest, armor arms, armor everything. I wear a full helmet. Yeah, so I am.
Let's go through
the gloves. I wear it all.
Let's go toe to head. What kind of boots did you buy? Do you remember?
Oh, man, I bought the boots that were recommended that are basically skid and like impact resistant. So they're meant so
protective toe.
your feet don't fall off.
They're highway skid resistant.
Right.
And they have a zip closure, don't they?
Yes. Oh,
they're easy to get on and off with a. Do they lace at all?
No.
Okay, so they have a zip closure. Super good boots. And then let's talk about the padding you're using on your legs.
It's called Bond. BOHN armor.
Bond armor.
Bond armor. So what it is, it's even more protective than what the government requires.
Mm-hmm.
And basically it's like long johns, right? So
it comes in kind of a long john
like
suit,
a lycra
black lycra, right?
And there are basically patches. I don't know if that's patches or
they're pads. They're a lot like the D3 armor, but they're not D3. They're like D4 or 5.
They've tested like 50% better than D3.
That's right. And he has one that's from knee down to the shin.
Yeah, I've got one on the thigh.
On the thigh.
On the side, what hip, yeah. And one on the butt.
The coccyx.
Yes, I got all that covered. So, and it's crazy is when your legs get warm, these mold to your legs.
It softens.
It softens up. So they're not that hard.
They're flexible.
You've seen that armor.
They're flexible when it's on you, but when they hit, and this is the cool thing about it, you can get it warm and flexible. Then if you knock it with your hand,
you've tried it.
I've tried it. It's nice and soft if you press your knuckles on it, but if you knock it, it's hard as a rock.
Yeah. That's all. I love it.
It reminds me of cornstarch. You know how cornstarch, you mix it into a batter, and you can stick your hand into cornstarch and it's sticky.
Okay.
But if you punch it, you bounce right off it. They call it a non-Newtonian. I think that's what they call it.
Ooh, Lou, I'm telling you, you're pulling it out now.
It's super cool. These are things where the molecules, when they experience impact, just freeze in place, and it's super cool.
It's so I wear the Bond on my legs.
Mm-hmm.
I wear the Bond on my top too.
So talk about the top, because the top is similarly a black, like a tight-fitting, thin black garment.
Yep, and you can get it in different colors.
And it includes what? Chest,
so
back.
It's got all up and down the arms.
Is that a single piece, or is it an elbow, forearm?
It's elbow, forearm, and then it's got something up here, like shoulder.
Yeah.
Then it's got a big back plate to it as well.
Love me a back plate.
It's got the front, and what you can do with it in the summer is they have it in reflective colors, where if you don't want to wear a jacket over it, you can just wear the armor over a t-shirt.
So if you strip down just to the Bond armor, which is kind of a sport bikey look.
It's very much a sport bike look.
They have reflective, but you got the black.
I got the black because, the Road King is not a sport bike.
That's not where he's at right now.
No. So I'm cruising on the Road King. And then I've got a really cool full-on helmet that is one that...
but we're going toe to head.
Oh.
So back to your legs, what about your riding pants, your jeans that you wear over your armor?
I'm just wearing regular jeans right now.
I did notice they've got a Scotia extra room in the crotch.
Well,
they've got like the diamond.
Yes, because I've got all the.
They've got a gusset. What are they? Are they Duluth, right?
They're Duluth.
Yeah.
Well, I've got them on right now. Actually.
Okay, he's got.
These are my Duluth pants.
So, and with the armor, it doesn't even look like he's wearing armor.
I love it.
It's a great setup. Good denim, little bit lightweight, but with the armor underneath, he's well beyond my tobacco brand Kevlar lined blue jeans, which I wear to ride.
Yep.
I don't have any armor to keep me from breaking my bones. I just have Kevlar lined with safety boots on, like just safety toed boots. And then from there on up, I'm basically whatever you layer over a t-shirt for the weather. For the winter. And then for a helmet, well, we'll talk helmets in a second. And then your jacket.
I did get a leather jacket. I got a
bargain hunter.
Everything I got was on sale or I had a coupon. I will tell. I don't pay full price.
He doesn't. Do you go and find a coupon for something? Do you ever go online and find a coupon?
Or I'll just wait for it to. Yeah.
Okay.
When I know what I want, I got the bond at a phenomenal price.
Yep.
And then I got the jacket at a phenomenal price, and it's all leather. You've seen it. I got a Harley leather.
It's a Harley branded jacket. You probably got it for what, $300?
Oh no, that was a $450 jacket. I ended up, I think, around the 150 range, maybe a little bit less.
Come on, didn't you have to do a return?
So I bought it once on sale, and then Harley put an additional sale on it, and it was like another $50 off
after he bought it.
Right.
So you immediately decided, well, then I need to get that discount. You didn't miss the discount.
No.
You saw that discount as still being a possibility.
Heck yes.
See, now that's positive thinking. Oh, Lou does not think like that. If I had bought a jacket, and then they dropped the price to 50%, I would have been like, oh, shucks. I missed an opportunity. Not Todd. That's why we call it the ToddCast.
Yes. No, I did not miss that opportunity, so I took care of that. I was able
How did you take care of it?
Well, okay, you gotta love Harley. They might be a little backwards, so I had to buy the same jacket again and return the one I already owned.
Yeah.
They couldn't just give me a credit. They literally paid to ship me another jacket, and they paid for me to send the other one back.
So Harley
I kept the jacket I originally bought and just literally sent the new one back. That's all I did.
The things we do.
Yes.
So that's your jacket, and then for your head, you got a good helmet.
I made sure I researched all the helmets, and again, what I found was one on sale, like I had 40 or 50% off.
Mm-hmm.
I got the color I wanted,
mm-hmm.
And because my head is so gigantic, I don't think my size sells that well, so it was on sale. So I bought the helmet. I love it. And then, what is the one thing out of that helmet, Lou, that you love?
All right,
let you. Yes,
on the back of Todd's helmet, he bought a brake light, but it's not Bluetooth. There's no module that goes onto the brake. There's no switch to attach to the brake of the bike. It just knows when you've put your brakes on. It knows, and it knows it so well. It's so natural. I've been watching this thing when we're riding, and I want to take one of those brake lights and just put it on the sissy bar of one of my bikes, because it just knows. And as an additional lighting fixture on a bike, like to increase visibility, just super awesome. I want to stick it on. I want to stick one on everything because there's no wiring, no nothing. And this thing just has a little bracket that goes on the back of the helmet that clicks onto its bracket, and you're good to go. It's pretty. It only stands off the helmet like maybe an inch. Yep. It matches. It's white. Your helmet's white. The color match is fine, and it tells the person behind you when you're slowing down.
It's called brake free.
Brake free.
It's what it's called, and it is it is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. So even when I slow down, it knows that I'm slowing down. It's not just hitting the brake. It's the bike. It's coasting. Whenever I don't move forward, it's gonna bright. It gets really bright.
It's got an ohmmeter inside of it. Maybe it's a potentiometer. Maybe it's a magnetometer. Maybe
it's a manometer. I'm not sure what it is, but it works.
Manometer.
So I will say, guys, I'm head to toe safe.
It's very cool. So we hit the dirty streets of Cincinnati and began our journey in low speed control. And I discovered so many things about the Harley rider course
that they don't teach you.
I came away. Now, I took the Ohio State course, not the university, but like the state police course, like not the super fast, but the basic rider skills course that Ohio offers through the DOT.
Yes.
Okay. And it was an academic module, and then it was 2 days of work on bikes. They provided the bikes, and what they provided us were 150 to 200 cc bikes.
Is that like a moped?
Well, no, they're a good bit above enduros. We were on Yamaha enduros. That's what I was riding. They had some Hondas in there. Some Honda Rebels were in the mix. They had a nice bunch of very um, but the thing is that a 150, like the the guys who do serious motocross, they train on 150s. They train on 200s and
Because
150s.
there's light and fast. Is
Light
that
and
the
fast.
light and fast? Yep.
And so but they're very, very light. They're not like a Harley Street 750. It's a little bit heavier of a bike. But in fact, my first motorcycle was a Yamaha 250 Enduro. It was given to me in a wheelbarrow, and that's where it stayed until I sold it to my friend from Florida who drove up here and took it with my Honda 450. I had a Honda, oh, maybe it was a Nighthawk. Yeah.
Wait,
I
let's take
sold
a
him
step
both
back.
of those.
So
Yeah.
your first bike was given to you in a wheelbarrow. It never
Yeah.
left the wheelbarrow.
Never left a wheelbarrow.
So you never rode the first bike.
No, guy was a mechanic. He knew his way around motorcycles, small
Okay.
motorcycles, and we had kind of a rental agreement. I had this I had a space that I was so generously afforded by the property owner down on Findlay.
Okay.
It was a warehouse. Now, down below, their company used it for the storage of very toxic chemicals. Up above, um, it just had like plexiglass over the windows, a non-working, no running water, had a toilet but no running water, and it had this nice space divided. One part of it was a garage, and I used that for farting around with motorcycles. The next space was a long hallway, pretty spacious. I used that as a milling space for my skateboard company, where I would cut down master sheets of 1/16 veneer. I went to London, Ontario, and I bought like a ton of master sheets. I drove my Metro bus. I owned a Metro bus.
Like
And
full on Metro bus. They would like
exactly the width of a Metro bus, full on Metro bus, but it was a 32 or a 28 footer. So it was the shortened Metro bus,
okay.
not small. And I parked it right here. I got it through the driveway with the walls on both sides. I would back it in here every time. Big old diesel,
That'd be an adventure.
Detroit diesel with a big old Allison transmission that did wind up blowing. And I wound up scrapping it for $3,000. Yeah.
So the neighbors have really loved you based on the fact that you had a chugging bus diesel through here, and now you crank up the Harleys.
I'm a character.
Character, yes.
I have a neighbor in the back, and she said, "Well, Lou, I sure always do know when you fire up one of those motorcycles, because every one of them's a neighbor hater." And so far, so fine. It's fine. My neighborhood is like, you know it,
I
because
love it.
you know the
it around here.
properties
Yep.
around here are going for $500,000 and like that, and it's
It's come a long way
I'm
since
just-
you put down roots here.
I'm taking a breath, because I liked it back when there used to be like crackhead house parties right over that fence right there, and dudes waving guns and stuff, and gunshots. I liked it. I liked it better that way to a great degree, because now, like, you have like the coffee shop, but they hate you. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
Like back then, the same neighbor with the house party and the guns. I remember that when I went to the backyard and I looked over the fence, and someone waved a gun, and the host of the party immediately stopped everything and told all those people, like, "This is Mr. Ross. He's a good guy. Everybody, I want you to meet Mr. Ross." And it was like there was so much love. in that kind of dangerous period, and it meant a lot. Daily life meant a lot to me. Now, for my son Aaron, I'm sure it was hard because he got mugged like the first week we lived here, and then the third week, and he started getting really good at just punching a dude.
Sprinting, or
No,
was he
just
just
punching a
okay?
dude right as soon as I got in Aaron. He started punching.
As
He
soon as you got in
started
the vicinity of
one
Aaron, it was
time.
just
He was walking down the street up there, and he had his arms full of like CDs and stuff. And a car pulled up. The classic car pulls up ahead of you, just like 30 feet. Door opens up. Guy comes running at him, and Aaron just boom, just nails the guy. Guy falls down. Aaron goes on his way. Like kind of that's how it was, you know. And but there's an honesty to it. You know, when we lived in a nice neighborhood, we would have exchange students stay with us, and we had one exchange student was like, please come and get me. And they were in this nice house, nice people, rich, you know, like that. And there was like drugs and cocaine and wilding out. Here, living here, it was out. It was, you knew what was what. You weren't going to be like staying over at a friend's house and all of a sudden there's this crazy wildness. We had another person I knew, young girl, got off of her bus in Mainville.
Mainville's not bad.
No, it's nice. She got off her bus in Mainville, and she was walking from the bus stop, and a guy started chasing her, and she got to the door, and she got the door locked, and it turns out that that guy had acquired several victims in the area. You know, here
Ugh.
you're sort of like, you're usually not going to be the victim of someone if you are local and you have your head on the swivel and you're watching, you know, if you've got if you've got yourself squared away, you're not going to have a lot of trouble in this area. If you go looking for trouble, you can find it really quick, but if you're not looking for trouble, it doesn't necessarily try to find
Well,
you, you
let's
know.
circle back to the story of Aaron just basically cold cocking this guy. So,
Yeah.
did you teach Aaron that? Because Aaron, for those of you who have not ever met Aaron, he's a big boy.
Oh, he's an
Yeah,
ox.
yeah, I mean,
He's
he
an ox.
is a big boy.
He's not like me. I'm
So-
little and skinny.
Yeah, but but Aaron is not that.
Yeah.
He's a big boy.
Yeah.
So, did you teach him how to hit? Did you teach him how to fight? How did that come about?
So when I was young, I was a trained fighter. New York State Championship, U.S. Cup gold
Dude,
medalist.
like Golden Gloves kind of thing?
No, in Taekwondo. But that
Okay.
Can I just really quick?
Absolutely.
For those who know about Taekwondo, the stuff you see now is not what I trained. The Olympic stuff, where they're just sort of like in Olympic Taekwondo, if you kick someone in the head, you get like 4 points, but they don't knock each other out. When I was a kid, also like they'll kick someone in the head and fall on the ground doing it. When I was a kid, if you kicked someone in the head and you fell on the ground, you got nothing. If you kicked him in the head, you got maybe 2 points, maybe, but it had to be a blow that would knock out a civilian. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It had to be like, it couldn't be some glancing, just barely touch
Yeah,
thing.
well,
It had to be put in there and put together. And I was trained by a school led by a colonel in the South Korean Army during the Vietnam War. If you know about the South
Whoa.
Koreans during the Vietnam War, this was hard hitting 1970s, 80s era Taekwondo, which actually was just got named Taekwondo. It was Tang Sudo before that. These guys were like war criminals. And the
Whoa. Go.
the training that my brother and I did made us like tree choppers, you know, with our mostly feet, but we trained hands and we trained grappling, and we trained some what you call it, oh my gosh, that's so funny, I forgot the name of it, but it's fine. Hapkido, like we trained Hapkido as well, just for the joint locks and the crushing someone's bones, you know, game. So Aaron was raised by a guy in my youth. I was 21 when we had Aaron, and he got raised by a guy who, that was my background. So just the way that we played together as father and son, I introduced him to, you know, acquiring, bending, sweeping, grappling. I introduced him to the how to flip someone by as a child, just playing with him. I didn't hurt him, but I introduced him to those motions first, in me doing it to him, but then in letting him do it to me. And so that was how, and I trained on and off with different groups of people as I went forward, and so Aaron was always like, one time he got surrounded, no joke, by like 21 other students after school. He went to school right up on the hill. And after school, he got surrounded by what can only be described as, I mean, once you're over 10 people, it's kind
Would
of
that
a
be
mob,
a gang?
kind of a
Mob?
mob.
Okay.
He kind of got mobbed. He was, I want to say 10. Let me think.
Now,
He was,
did
he was
deserve
10.
this surrounding?
No,
Did he do something?
no.
Was
This
it just...
was actually, it was kind of racial. And that's fine. You'll have
interesting.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's a thing. Everywhere you go, you can move. I mean, if you move to Hawaii, you're going to have insider outsider group. My goodness, Anyway, so he got surrounded, and he came home from it, and he said, "Dad, today after school, uh, I got surrounded by a bunch of kids." And I was like, "What happened?" He's like, "Well, this kid came up to me, and he was just kept coming up to me, and he was, he's trying to hit me and stuff." And Aaron knew how not to be hit because he played with Dad, and so he wasn't getting hit. And so when the kid came up to him, Aaron just flipped him, just put him down. Good. And so he told me that, and he didn't know where I'd be at with it, because at the time I was pretty much a pacifist. I was really not into Aaron hurting other kids. I don't agree with myself today about that. So I was talking to him in the house. It was, he'd been home for 5 minutes from school, and there's a bang, bang, bang at the door. It is the principal of his school.
Came to your house?
Came to my house. And I opened the door, and he said, "Mr. Ross, there was an incident after school today." I said, "Yeah, I know. And Aaron is in trouble." And the principal said, "No. I didn't come here for Aaron to get in trouble. I came here I said, he can't be flipping kids at school." And he said, No. I want you to know that we're sorry for what happened to Aaron. It was, and he just like broke down to me that it was, it was really bad. It was a huge group of kids. They had encircled him. And the principal appeared to me to be super happy that Aaron had destroyed that child. Like fractured his ribs.
I guess he got what was coming to him.
Yeah, he was. And so I didn't punish Aaron at all.
So at that point,
in fact, I really warmed to what was happening. I was learning from that like, man, sometimes a kid's got to crush a kid.
So,
but
as a parent, is that I'm the proud papa moment, or I'm like, okay, I'm proud inside, but how do I, not tell my kid?
No,
what lesson do we learn?
That actually was a change for me, because by that time Aaron had been mugged a few times, and when he got mugged by kids who lived right there. Like 4 boys.
They
lived right there and right there. Yeah. And so when he got mugged, I just went straight to his parents, and some of them were involved in some certain trades and things like that, but I didn't care.
Right.
I believe in the Lord, so I'm not afraid of people. I'm afraid of being a coward. I'm afraid of withholding the connection to people who live right next to me, because the book says love your neighbor. Well,
okay.
To me, part of loving someone it's like, don't just let them keep going like that, man. You got to stand up to them and say, "Hey, this isn't cool. Our kids are neighbors. Your kids shouldn't be mugging my kids." And it made very warm relationships with these families around me. I had the parents didn't want their kids mugging that kid.
They can mug other kids, but don't mug my kid. Is that
dummy,
what it was?
Dummy, there's a 2-block radius. There's a 2-block radius that you need to clear before you start mugging, playing pirate.
Oh my God.
So So like, and I loved that. I always, my faith and my reading of scripture and my experience that has come out of that has always led me to be more like that, just to connect, just mash yourself against people and be like, hey, and it's scary, you know, but I'm more scared of being a coward, which I do fall into
Well,
very
I
naturally.
think we all
Everyone,
we're all
all
hesitant
of us.
to kind of confront people
Yeah, but I'm the
because we
only
don't know where
person
it's
I'm
going
in
to go.
charge of. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm, and so,
So this brings in a bigger question, though.
what's that?
You have Shiloh now, who is your first grandchild, yes?
Yeah,
So are we going to be teaching Shiloh self-defense?
absolutely. If I live and if I am able, I will definitely make sure that little Shiloh is familiar with the ways, the kinetic options that are available to her in situations of risk and duress. Did I say that good?
I love it. I tell you,
Yeah,
because I didn't know what you were going to answer.
that's
Because
my
again,
answer.
we're just chatting,
She
so I have
just,
no idea where we're
I'm
heading
just
with
going to
this.
make sure she knows the options.
But I will tell you,
hmm
I absolutely am with you, and I'm going to kind of digress a bit. So,
And I've taught women self-defense.
and I've got 3 kids.
Yeah.
My youngest is now 15 and a half, but I'm not going to. They were still in middle school, I believe, riding the bus,
Yeah.
and
The bus, man.
so riding the bus.
What a zoo.
This kid, male kid, my youngest is a female, was picking on her constantly. Well, guess what she did?
Well, I know what I'd tell her to do.
Well, and that's exactly what she did.
She send one straight up the pipe.
Well, that or I believe she just knocked him out on the bus.
Well, like
Yes,
fisticuffs
with a fist.
So
And-
that's a very sophisticated move.
Yeah, so she took him out, and guess what? From that point on, nobody bothered her again.
And what I've found to be the case is, now maybe not in that case because there's a gender difference there.
There's a gender difference.
But in the case of boys, a lot of times, it's a bridge. It builds a bridge of friendship and respect between young men when you stand up to a bully. Even if and I did teach my kids this. I said, sometimes there comes a point where even though you're going to be punished, you need to make that connection with this person. You need to introduce them to consequence. So on the bus, she just cracked this guy.
And it was done. And
she get in any trouble for it?
Well, we got the phone call and all this. And
okay.
It was a very similar situation to when the principal came to your house. It was, well, shouldn't be doing that, but it's okay.
I think
they were like,
okay,
yeah, shouldn't have done it, but we're gonna let this one kind of go because it was warranted.
And we
should have controlled the bus better than we did.
That's it.
It was our fault.
Because it really is.
It's
It's on the supervision. Both of these principals are on point. One time I was beaten so badly at my high school, I almost died.
Lou?
Junior high. It was junior high. They had all the way to 9th grade in my junior high, and I was a 7th grader. And a boy speed bagged my head off the marble floor. He got knocked me on my back.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I have had
randomly. I mean, was it just there's Lou? I'm going to do it. I mean, what happens?
I had spiked hair. All it took was a different haircut. I've always been outside the mold, and I had spiked hair at the time.
You had spiked. The trigger was spiked hair.
Well, he threw me down the stairs. He grabbed me by my belt in the back of my shirt. He was big and I was little, and he threw me down. I think it was an 8 or 10 step stair set from the middle landing all the way to the bottom. And I was like a blue belt in Taekwondo, which is pretty early. And I was pissed. And so, as a kid would do, lacking judgment, I ran my mouth. I wished that kid would start with me again. And when he started with me again, he tossed me down the stairs again. But I turned around the second. It was about a week later. I turned around and I started coming up the stairs, and I threw a punch. But it was one of those Anakin, I've got the high ground moments. My head was just at like his belt level, and he reached down and he started cracking me on the head.
Oh my
God.
God.
And I just felt he unconscioused me while I was still in the 3 steps up that staircase, and um, and I fell backward into the bottom staircase landing out in the lobby. He had hit me, I don't know how many times by then, maybe 5, and he was hitting me. You know what? I think he's not alive anymore.
I'm
But
surprised you can remember
I wish.
that.
Oh yeah, well I remember that he got about 5 shots into me, maybe 3, by the time I was on my back, and then he went racketatekatatekatatekatatekateka, and the back of my head, and a girl screamed, "Oh my God, you're killing him!"
You,
And I remembered that before, and so I was laying on my back, and I thought, why is he only hitting my forehead? I mean, he could be. In the 5th grade, I had my orbital bone broken and one of my teeth broken by a boy. He hit me twice, and he broke 2 bones doing it. Um, and I thought, why isn't he destroying my face? All the guys who beat me up before this have hit me in the cheeks. This guy is just foreheading me, and I thought, well, that is so strange, and remarkably skillful with his hands. And then the second, that's a real thought I had as a 13-year-old boy. And then the second thought I had was, I was maybe 8th grade. The second thought I had was, oh man, he is killing me. I better do something. So I brought my legs up and I pushed him by his groin off the ground. And I bumped him up high enough with my right leg that when he started coming down, my left leg, I shot a really good sidekick shot, like snapped really well right into his groin. And it knocked him straight up again. He's levitating. And then when he came down again, I shot with my right foot and I hit him again. Full groin coverage, like snapped out sidekick, because I had really good kicks. So I levitated this guy, pushed him up with the first one. That couldn't have been comfortable. And then 1, 2, destroyed him. And after that, I pedal pawed my legs and he was gone. And he ran off. He didn't curl up on the ground. Like he would. I didn't know about drugs. There was like cocaine and speed and stuff in my junior high
you think he
school.
had to be on something? Because
I
that
think he
normally
was
would have
on
just
speed.
taken you out.
But it turns out, I found out later, that he was pretty destroyed after that. And once they figured out I had a mild concussion, but they didn't get me any medical attention at all. They didn't even medically check me. The Mr. Zick. Mr.
Well,
Zick.
you've got an amazing memory of this entire event.
Oh, I remember all the times I got my ass kicked.
God,
and that's not a few times. I've had my ass kicked.
I'm not sure that's a good thing.
No, I've had my ass kicked by tiny people, by really big people. I've had my butt kicked so many times. And so it's good for you. When you lose, you learn. And
so you must have learned a lot.
I have learned a lot.
Yes.
And Mr. Zick was the assistant principal of the school, and he was in charge of room 111. That was the disciplinary office. And he drove me to my house, and he apologized to my mom. But that's because their asses were on the line.
Yeah, at that point in time, yeah.
Shortly thereafter, I think it was the next spring or sometime, I was still in that school. So I have this really bad habit in my life. I pick on bullies.
So
I've always been a guy.
You've started these fights?
My mouth can't resist
okay.
when a bully is being a bully. I even now in my podcast and like that, I call out things that most people would just rather let lie, stay under the radar. But no. I can't sleep at night if I let that type of thing go on, even since I was a kid. And I was picking on a guy for picking on littler guys. And so he picked me up and he dumped me. He broke my collarbone. It swelled up like a baseball under my skin.
Whoa.
Yeah. And I had to wear this funny brace for like a month after that.
Now, was this before or after you started learning your martial arts?
I was still 12 when that guy did that to me. And then I started with the karate, the taekwondo, and the one, that rickety tickety guy, had been in for maybe a year. I wasn't a good fighter. I don't like hitting people.
You're just like getting pummeled by people.
I don't I don't I I
mean,
don't like
so-
picking on bullies. I didn't like it when I was a kid, but it was
Okay.
the only thing I knew to do about all these savage, super assholes who are making life miserable for little kids, like around them.
Well,
you know,
clearly you've got a good heart. It was just, you know,
it's
and you got a hard head, a good heart and a hard head.
it did turn out that way. But so with Aaron growing up, and with my baby granddaughter, the kids learn what they need to learn from me, and now my youngest son Seth, uh, I put him in an old school Tang Sudo school to learn, an art like I learned, which is not a practical art exactly. You've got to come into flow state application of the skills you learn in any art. But um, he wound up asking me to go ahead and join the school too and train with him, which I was willing for him to just be in there alone. Leave him alone, let him learn. But we trained together, and he got to brown belt, and he actually quit because they weren't teaching him enough. They were actually promoting students without teaching them, and at brown belt he was turning down. He didn't want to not be trained how to really be better. And but that boy is but he's also built like Aaron. Like he's
because I have not
just
met Seth yet. I mean, I
big.
know he's been here. It's had an
I have
opportunity. So,
two tall big boys. He's like 6'2".
all right, so he's taller than Aaron,
Yeah.
but just as stocky.
And my eldest son is 6'5".
Okay, where did all this come from?
Well,
'Cause you
his came from Polynesia because he's not a natural born son.
gotcha. Okay.
But I don't want to say he's adopted because we didn't adopt him. We were his guardians. And he's a mountain. He is a mountain. He is just like King Kamehameha, like just a big dude.
Okay, and
Yeah.
I've met that son.
Yeah, he's
Yes.
and so all three of my sons can do security for me as I shrink and wizen, as my old age and my muscle tone and my T count goes down.
But your brevity to go after people has not gone down. So now you need to bring in reinforcements. Yes.
I still have some stuff in the basement I can pull out if I need to, but it's all dirty tricks from here on out.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that, Lou.
Yeah, it's all paper.
When you get our age, man, it's just whatever it takes.
Yeah,
It's just literally whatever it takes.
It's cutters and hole punchers from here on out. But so I love this. This is fun. But so we went through all your gear that we've got you riding in, and we got out in the summertime. We began doing once weekly, maybe
Tried to.
something like once weekly. We started going out and just doing parking lot stuff, teaching you how to blend your rear brake with a little bit of throttle and the clutch blend, getting you balanced, and you just excelled.
So we're gonna go back a little old school. So you and I watched Karate Kid. You ever see those movies?
Life-changing movie. Came out when I was 12.
Okay.
And that's how I knew I needed to learn how to do that stuff.
So
yeah,
to me, this is my Karate Kid moment because I'm like, Lou, what are we doing? I'm riding in circles. I've not gone over 5 miles an hour on this bike. This thing is heavy. You're teaching me how to back it up, how to turn it, how to look right, how to look left. So basically I was waxing on, waxing off.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, Lou, this is ridiculous. We're doing this for weeks. Am I ever going to get to ride this
Sweating
bike?
to death.
Just
sweating.
Yeah, because the bike doesn't go anywhere. So half the time you got to keep the bike from overheating because we're not going anywhere.
Yep.
And I'm overheating because I'm still wearing all my gear and I'm not going anywhere.
And one time the bike died. We closed the lesson. I brought the bike back, put a new charging system in it. I put a new drive belt on it. I put new swing arm bushings on it. I put all new transmission seal, shifter seal. I went through all that. And I put a 2-phase or 3-phase charging system on it instead of the 2-phase it comes with, upgraded charging, all that. Now it's in for intake manifold seals and a throttle body clean and a full check through it, because all my bikes are ancient. They're all 20 plus years old. They're not classics. They're twin cams from the early 2000s when the cranks were good. You could get less than 3000s run out, and that one's gear driven cams. The one in there that belongs to my son is gear driven cams. This one is hydraulic cam upgraded. hydraulic cam tensioner upgraded, and that one is bare stock and is going to have to get. I'm going to have to go through that one. This one is low mileage, but sat for 20 years. This Radder, and then that over there is an Evo era Sportster, and it's I don't know. I probably should sell it as a project bike.
So, but what did you tell me? You bought that bike,
Yeah,
and you told me, just remember, if you buy a Harley, think you're going to put another $2 to $3 grand in it. The
right,
day you buy it
right.
is not how you're going to deal.
You're going to
right?
buy it for 6 or 7 grand for one that's in pretty good shape. You're going to put another 2 to 3 grand into it. You're going to wind up with these are 5 speeds, so they don't have the same highway running as the newer bikes with the 6-speed. But those 6-speed transmissions, I've worked on so many of them, they don't last. And the 5-speed transmission just lasts and lasts. So you can run these at 100 miles an hour for 10 hours with no damage. Like, they're tested at that. They're great bikes, but you have to accept a higher RPM at highway speeds than is offered with the 6-speed transmission. It offers you this 1-to-1 sixth gear that everyone likes for cruising, but it actually puts a lot of load on the drivetrain because of that low RPM, low torque application, and people don't realize you need to shift down into fifth. You need to be 3,000 RPM to 4,500 RPM is where these motors are happy, and it feels a bit high to the rider. They like to lug along at 25 to 2,800 RPM, but that's not the optimal riding range, RPM range for the design of the motors. Now,
so it's good to know if you had a bike that has a tachometer, right?
right.
But the bike that Lou is letting me borrow and ride, does that have a tachometer?
No tach.
No. So I'm trying to do this by my ears. And by Lou, while Lou's in front of me, I'll get the first gear, second gear, third gear. And I'm trying to keep up with them.
And I throw those out. It was actually last ride. It was so we graduated up into
that was a long ride.
We went was that our second ride together or third?
That was our third long ride.
Our first 2 rides were
a little bit quicker.
About a 15-minute ride out, about a 15-minute ride back. And those rides, the first one, it had been a while since we did street work.
Yep.
And I was just going to take you out on a ride because that's where you were when we left off with street work. And you looked wobbly.
I was.
Just out of practice.
These are big bikes. People don't realize how heavy is that Road King. I mean, that is not a small bike.
I'd peg that at 825 pounds.
Okay,
I'd say that's right about where it is.
If you've never ridden a bike, on a scale of bikes, heavy to light, right? So that's considered a cruiser. Is that what that one is?
Yeah, these are touring bikes.
Touring bikes.
This is a touring frame from Harley. Both this Electroglide here next to you and that Road King are both on the Harley touring frame. The Electroglide probably weighs in similarly, plus 20 pounds maybe.
Because you have the fairing, right?
You got the fairing on the front. It's basically analogous. I'd put it at 850 pounds, 800 pounds.
So you're not going to get a much heavier bike than these. These are
the Road King. The Road King is a lot easier for low speed because it's on slammed shocks. It's lowered, and that's actually really good for a beginner because of how low it is. You can when you begin to drop it at low speeds, you can really get purchase and stop it from dropping more easily than this Electroglide, which is nice and tall. It's on a 13-inch shock. That's on a 10-inch shock.
That's a big difference.
That is a big difference. And the previous owner had not. You can either lift the fender, which is quite an operation. It means re-drilling the fender and mounting it again with holes that are lower, so you lift it up. Or you can trim the fender, which damages the fender if, whatever, for resale and rusting and like that. I trimmed the fender and replaced the drive belt because the fender touches the drive belt and cuts it. There's a very common mistake when you slam a bike. Two common problems you run into are damaging your wire loom where it comes out and goes over the fender. That one has a separated wire loom that goes beside the wheel, and so that wasn't a problem because the wheel is touching, it's hitting the fender now that you've dropped the fender down lower.
Man, there's
Yeah.
a lot to this.
Yeah, there is a lot to it. This wheel is actually not hitting the fender very much at all, if at all.
Even with all my weight on
It
there?
has a tall enough clearance. It didn't need to be raised in order to get clearance, and it didn't need to be raised in order to get clearance on the wiring loom. But what it did need was a trim, so I trimmed it so that it doesn't touch the now perfectly new drive belt I've got on there, and so it's good to go that way. I did that, and then and then I I do I don't I'm pretty persnickety when I work on bikes. I've got to be in the right headspace and have the right focus, and I'm not very patient, so I like to get everything dialed in, and then I work all in one blitz. I'll come out and do a whole bunch of stuff in one blitz, and then I'll back away from it, read up a little more, then I'll go back and check what I did, any tools I needed or any advice or help I needed. I'll go and get that, and I'll come back in and do another blitz, and usually in 3 sessions I can get a lot of work done. I'm also doing rocker box gaskets on that one next, so it might be December before I'm putting in a little wood stove out here.
Nice.
And yeah, we found a $150 camping wood stove that'll knock the chill off the place. I also have a design idea for a salamander heater. You know those salamanders? Oh, yeah. You stick a salamander heater out there, and you put some ductwork on it. Check this out. Okay. Now in there's a mini split. All right.
Well, yeah.
But out here in the wild area, you run your salamander through a duct. Now it's just diesel or kerosene, right? So there's not a lot of soot. You run it through a vent pipe. You put a box on the pipe, right in here somewhere, right where you want it, right? Maybe up above. All right. You put a box in there, and then you pipe it the rest of the way out the other side. And that whole vent pipe is going to heat up in that box. So that's like a great way to get all the BTUs off of one of those things.
As everyone can see my face.
If this were Scandinavia, you would run it under the floor.
Yeah. So just to let everybody understand, I also own a heating and cooling company.
So this is
and
right
as
in your
Lou's
wheelhouse.
Explaining this to me, yes, I'm like, okay, sure. The DIY projects in heating and cooling, they always work out so well for
This is going to be epic.
Yes. When people hire me to come in and fix all that,
yeah,
so you let me know.
The other thing about that is I worked in a shop that was heated only with a salamander, indoors. The carbon monoxide poisoning, like every day,
it's not good
in that shop. On super cold days, he would run the salamander, and I was like, dude, you're killing us. Like you're killing us. He was a big mountain of a man, a good dude.
So he didn't care.
He's from Tennessee, and he was a big mountain hillbilly guy. I loved him, man, and he didn't care.
As long as the work got done, he got paid.
Work didn't get done. And he got paid, but I didn't. So it was fine. Apprenticing in motorcycle mechanics. You work for some characters. You really do.
Oh, I bet you do.
Not everywhere's like the bike shop.
All right. So we're going to circle back a little bit. So what on that bike, you've done all this great work to it, but what do you remember the one thing that you did to that bike that I told you was the greatest thing ever for me? Riding a bike for the first time. It was probably the most inexpensive thing you could have done and the easiest install you could have done, but it did wonders for me riding that bike.
I remember you saying something like that. Oh yeah.
Do you remember what that piece was that you stuck on there? That
I put a backrest on it.
It's just a little.
It's a little backrest.
You can't see it, but it's.
I'll just pull it off and show it to people.
I mean, it's tiny. It's right behind the hat.
It ain't.
But I'm telling you,
cheap, baby.
That thing right there.
Yeah. Well, that's fine. There
worked.
It is.
But for those of you who do not ride a bike or you ride a bike, that keeps you exactly where you need to be on that bike. And it has helped me ride safer and feel that bike better because it keeps me in the right position. Just that little backrest is amazing what it's done for me.
It sure does. I put a backrest on the Electroglide. They're already. I have a tour pack with all that. This Electroglide is for me and my wife. We go on rides on it. It's become my daily rider. I love it. The bagger thing. I never thought that I'd be able to afford baggers. You know.
So you say
I've ridden
baggers. Explain to everybody when you say a bagger, what are you talking about?
Touring frame, saddlebags.
So these.
Yep.
like the left
Yeah.
and right, where you can just put stuff in, like your storage.
So this over here, the frame on this Radder is a Softail standard frame. It's a little shorter than the touring frame, and not short. It's you get almost the same distance from contact patch to contact patch, almost the same wheelbase on the bike
As the big one.
as the big ones. But it is a little bit shorter, and these can be made into baggers as well, like the Softail Classics, the Softail line of bagged bikes, but they're just a little bit shorter. The touring frame is a little bit longer, and but it handles differently. It's it's not less nimble. I learned that. All my Softails, I have my son's Softail in the trailer, and it's blowing a circuit right now, and I think it's the tail lights that I wired in like a hillbilly.
So
I did a hillbilly.
You should have gotten a brake frame, just stuck it on the back.
Seriously. And this one, I also wired it. I took off a pound of wiring on this bike. I just turned the bike on, started cutting wires, and when the bike shut off, I would keep that wire. And then as long as I did know what was what, but as long as my headlight stayed on and my brake light worked, I kept cutting wire on this bike. And there was so it's on like a 7 or 8 wire harness right now, and very pleased with it. It's a very fun to ride. It's a solo bike, and I needed a bike that my wife would be comfortable riding on with me, and so I got this Electroglide when a great opportunity came by to buy it for a really good price. I got this Electroglide. Probably at a dealership you'd buy this for something like $12,000, and I was able, through just the friendships that I've been able to have, was able to acquire it for about $5,000.
It's a heck of a deal.
Yeah, $5,000 or $6,000 for bikes in this range are really good prices.
So, and then did you do your mantra of the 2 to 3 on top of the 5 to get it where you want it?
I didn't have to with this one. This one had this had already been built very well. No leaks, no problems. I had to do new exhaust gaskets, and I had to put a bracket on the. Both of these have true dual exhaust on them, aftermarket. It's way better than the original 2-into-1 X pipe thing that they do. And I did have to do a bracket. I had to do exhaust on that one. I did have to do some brake work, and oh yeah, I did put an extra $1,000 in with those ridiculously tall bars that I put on.
Yeah, but you love that. I mean, that is your world.
I do. That's I can't do this. No. The beach bike thing. The businessman bike. That's
not Lou.
No, I'm not going to be alive that much longer.
Come on now.
I want to be up in fighting stance.
All right. So we've been rolling at this for over an hour.
Good.
So I love it, but I think we got to keep some for the next one.
We will do a next one soon, and so
because there's a lot more journey to come.
Yeah, the ToddCast is going to be a thing. Who knows? And I really look forward to talking more about business, but we got to get through. So we've kind of brought the story up to when you and I started going for road rides. So we're going to talk road rides and road wisdom on the next.
I'd love to talk some road wisdom.
Yeah.
About those, what'd you call those black snakes on the road?
Tar snakes.
The tar snakes.
Todd's learning.
Got to learn what a tar snake is.
Tar snakes and condition considerations.
Oh man, there's a lot to this to be safe.
Level heading a curve and all kinds of.
Which way do I lean? Which way do I not lean?
Whether you're going to counter steer.
Oh yeah.
Or you're going to, you got all these things. We even did have a conversation about trail braking, but we're not doing that for a while. But trail braking will come in probably next season when we're riding more often. We'll start messing.
I'm excited, and I will tell everybody I've also been on the highway.
Yes.
Which was unique because the Road King that Lou is allowing me to ride does not have a windshield. So I'm doing 75 miles an hour, nothing in front of me, and you can feel that.
Does it feel like you're going to lift off?
Oh my gosh. And you try to turn your head a little bit, and it's just like, so there's some uniqueness to this. There's definitely a learning curve.
It's done a lot for me. I I'm a Johnny come lately in terms of like the classic American iron culture. I started riding in my late 30s. It's meant a lot to me. Um, I was experiencing some intense stuff at the time. I've been publicly shamed, um, defamed, really.
Yes, with the skateboarding stuff.
Yep. And I had been publicly menaced with death threats, and then privately menaced with death threats, and had been surrounded by 15 men
So
at one
really,
time.
Lou, pretty
So
much from a
riding, it hasn't changed.
yeah, from
I
a
pick
very
on
young age
I,
all the way through, you seem to pick.
I pick on bullies.
Yes.
And it's not something that, I'm not saying everyone should, but I am saying that if everyone did, the world would be a little different. Wouldn't fix it, not going to be fixed, but if people were a little less tolerant of bad behavior, I think that it would become more typical that people would behave a little better.
I love that train of thought. I think we need to pick that up.
It'll always,
because
it'll always be here.
yeah, because you and I could talk. We both have raised kids,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we've got a very similar approach to that. And it's interesting because I think we're lacking some of that parental guidance.
I taught my sons that sometimes you have to accept being the consequence for someone else's decision. But as an adult, okay, not schoolyard, the problem is when you're an adult, those kind of considerations, when it gets to threats, when it gets to assaults, I was assaulted multiple times in public. When you piss off these like moguls and magnates in the skateboarding industry, what I think maybe they don't appreciate when they throw out this kind of language is that their acolytes, who might be in their 20s or even 30s, they are not mature enough people to recognize that mounting up as an enforcer against this, like being an agent of that rhetoric is a life and death situation. When one grown man wants to beat another grown man toothless, the guy who's going to get beat toothless might be thinking of getting home alive to his children, or other serious considerations, and that can escalate into some very litigious at best. That could lead to legal trouble at best, but it could lead to medical trouble very, very quickly, very easily. So that was very stressful, and riding motorcycles and wrenching on them became a very therapeutic aspect of my life. So I dove in pretty hard, and I figured out really quickly that I liked the early 2000 twin cams. Nobody wanted them because of their exploding cam chain tensioners, and the fix for it provided you with a bike that is just bomber, just completely great. So and I love Harleys for their durability, the older Harleys for their durability and their serviceability. I love the repairability of Harleys. And so next time we'll get together and we will talk about riding on the road, experiencing the wind and the absolutely high risk situations we run into.
Oh, with the police following me.
And people pulling out in front of us.
Oh my God, that was crazy.
Yep. And then we're going to talk about what kind of bike you might want to get if you were to ever buy a bike and continue this beautiful personal journey.
Well, I want to delve in a little bit too next time. Yeah. Why am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
We talked about kind of your situation, and it's a lot more than just getting on a bike. There's a lot to this. So I think we should definitely get into that next time too.
Yeah, we'll pick up with the therapeutic aspect from your perspective.
Well, from both of ours, but I think it's more than just looking cool on a bike.
It is. All right. Well, I'm going to lean forward and touch the little stop button.
The magic button?
For the other podcast Luke has this little button that he presses. He holds it in his hand.
Are we that sophisticated?
No, but in the one we do in the house.
Yeah. Because we've been regulated out. We're out in the garage.
We are.
Like we're in the We're in
Yeah.
the workshop.
And it's going to be cold out here and everything. I'm going to have to figure out that heating thing one of these days.
We'll get it figured out.
All right.
But
Well,
this is great, Lou.
since I don't have that, I'm going to do this. Thanks for being with us for what it's worth, CapmLew.